Ninth Planning Commission meeting, regular meeting. I call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Commissioner Knighton?
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Holler?
Here.
Chair Madrid?
Here. Ron Sullivan, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Luis. So I see that we have no presentations tonight. Madam Clerk, are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay. Can I ask the Planning Commissioner for an all in favor to approve the agenda? What?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Hearing none, agenda is approved. Madam Clerk, any requests to speak, or would anyone in the audience like to make a public comment?
I have no requests to speak.
Okay. Was that for the agenda, or was that for? Okay.
Sir, this is just for public comments for non-agenda items. When we get to the public hearing regarding the cell tower, we will invite members of the public up. Thank you.
Hmm? We will. Okay, so there are no consent calendar items. Okay, that takes us to item 9.1. That's, you need to fill us, sir, could you fill a slip out for? Or do you just
Chair,
want-
I believe we're at item 7, approval of the minutes.
Oh, excuse me, I skipped one. No, I don't have 7, hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay, there is one set of minutes for the Planning Commission's approval. Does the Planning Commission have any modifications? Anybody? Okay. Could I ask the Planning Commission for an all in favor to approve the March 26 minutes? Please, if you approve, say aye.
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 Hearing none, minutes are approved. Okay, now we're going to item 8. There are no consent calendar items. And number 9.1. Rockland Verizon Wireless Mono Eucalyptus. So this is item 9.1. Could the acting community development director please introduce the item?
Good evening, thank you, Chair. The item is going to be presented by Associate Planner Desiree McCriff.
Thank you, Orlando. Good evening, Chair, Commission. The project is the conditional use permit number 240771 for Rockport Wireless Communication Facility. The proposed wireless facility will be located north of Newport Road, east of Menifee Lakes Drive, west of Menifee Road, and south of Shady Brook Drive. The zoning and land use designation for the site is Menifee Village Specific Plan. The development is for a new unmanned 70-foot-tall cell site disguised as a mono-eucalyptus tree, including a 347.5-square-foot equipment enclosure lease area, enclosed by an 8-foot-tall decorative precision block wall. The proposed new cell site will be required to meet all FAA and FCC guidelines. Because the cell site is proposed on an existing golf course, there is no additional landscape proposed other than the addition of faux ivy as screening for the proposed equipment shelter. The images show that the mono-eucalyptus will be located within a line of existing trees, and the ivy will cover the equipment shelter. This image shows the proposed mono-eucalyptus looking northeast from Newport Road. The coverage map shows existing and proposed conditions of wireless coverage as it relates to the proposed wireless facility. The circled area on both maps represents the location of the cell site. The map on the left shows more yellow, which means there is less coverage without the proposed facility. But on the right shows the increase of coverage with the addition of the cell site. The proposed use has been determined to be categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act and guidelines of Section 15303, new construction or conversion of small structures. Section 15303, new construction, consists of construction and location of new structures or small structures which do not exceed 2,500 square feet of floor area. The cell site proposes a floor area of 347.5 square feet, therefore can be exempt from CEQA. In conclusion, staff recommends the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution approving major conditional use permit 240071, subject to the conditions of approval and based upon the findings and conclusion incorporated in the staff report and resolution. Conditions of approval were provided to the applicant to review. A memo with the requested changes to the conditions of approval has been provided in your folders. Additionally, we did receive 2 public comments last week via email and have since provided responses. And this concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Desiree. Does Planning Commission have any questions, Desiree? All right, then I'll open the public hearing at 6:07. Madam Clerk, can you confirm that the item was legally noticed and if any correspondence has been received?
Yes, it was legally noticed and the correspondence is in your folders.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to invite the applicant to the podium to speak, please.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Jeremy Siegel. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Verizon Wireless.
Jeremy, can I add
Sorry.
do you agree to the conditions of approval?
Yeah, as revised, we did send in a revised set of conditions with some minor changes that I believe the planning director and staff have agreed to as well. There were some landscaping conditions in there that weren't applicable and a few other items that we had addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, sorry. And I'm here to answer any questions, respond to any comments, and definitely appreciate your guys' time.
Does the Planning Commission have any questions for Jeremy? No questions? Guess not, Chair. Good job.
And open to providing some responses if there's any other public comment as well.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
The existing trees, how tall are they?
Our surveyor measured the highest tree is 66.5. It's on our survey. They didn't survey all the smaller trees around it, but they're between 40 and 50 feet in height.
And are they evergreen?
I believe most of them are evergreen. I don't have exact species on hand, but yeah, I believe so.
Nice.
Questions? Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
I have 2 requests to speak. First, I have Ron Sullivan, followed by Joe Garcia.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Sullivan. I live at 28068 Orange Grove Avenue in Menifee. I also represent the owners of the golf course, which is Diamond Brothers 5 Partnership. To answer the Commissioner's question, yes, those are evergreen trees. They are green all year round. We've worked with Verizon for the better part of a year and a half, close to 2 years, to figure out, is this going to be a good site or a not good site? And it really is something that's kind of hidden when you start to look at it. And so we're certainly in favor of it. And I know that any added cell sites that we have around here helps out, because most of the irrigation is done over a cell phone. And so it is helpful. And, you know, the Menifee keeps growing, and everybody that comes in has 1, 2, 3, or 4 cell phones in a household. So this is, I think, appropriate. Thanks for letting me talk.
Thanks, Ron.
Joe Garcia?
Good evening. Thank you, Planning Commission, for allowing me to come and speak to you folks today. I'm not a public speaker. I do live at 29843 Camino Cristal on the golf course, and have for the last 15 years. And I'm currently with Verizon, and I have no problem with cell phone, okay, at this point in time. My concern is this: we're overlooking the impact that it would have on the animal wildlife that is currently residing on the golf course. Everything from small wolves, raccoons, ducks, Canadian geese, things of that nature. Although there's no environmental impact that was shown, I don't know where that study came from. What I'd like to share with you is the fact that as a property owner, there's a lot of things that I'm not aware of with regards to this tower and how it will affect the overall makeup of the city. But I certainly know there are a lot different locations that can be proposed to. The golf course is in favor, and I'm sure one of the reasons they're in favor is the fact that they can use the revenue. There is a revenue stream that comes with it on a lease, and I'm sure that's what they're proposing as a leased property, correct? Yeah. That being said, the value, it's been proven, when cell towers go up, property values go down. The sign that was erected, bringing to my attention this meeting tonight, was erected probably 10 to 12 days ago. I had no clue what was going on. I would hope that the commission can actually table this issue for the next hearing, so that I can now put together my neighbors, residents, people of the community that would oppose such a project, and be able to show that there is strength in numbers. So my request to the commission is to table this issue and have it brought up at the next meeting. I don't want it rubber stamped through. I don't think that's something that's proper. Menifee is a growing community. Let's show the people that you actually do care for the community, because I can have this room filled on your next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any other speakers, Madam Clerk?
I have no other speakers.
So I will close this public hearing at 6:14 PM. Does commissioners, any questions or comments?
I have a question for staff or the city attorney. Just to clarify, I could probably answer the question, but you guys, I'm sure, will be able to articulate it better than I. Sir, there are things that, as a commission, we can consider, and there are things that we cannot consider. And I'm asking if you would please articulate those, in particular the things that we are not allowed to consider.
Thank you, Commissioner. So as you know, the FCC has determined that that cell towers are healthy and do not have negative impacts on health of the general public. So therefore, in determining whether to approve or deny this application, you cannot take into account health effects on the public. Thank you.
Michael? I just want to add, Joe, what we have here is we are approving the site, not anything technical. We're not allowed to comment or we don't know anything about technical. So we're basically approving the site. So your concern's not, well, I hate to say it this way, but it's not here for here tonight. It's for the FPPC or they're the regulatory people. Any other questions?
I'll give you a little experience on this. There's a cell tower in the Wheatfield Park, and it's now sitting right smack dab in the middle. We opposed that being there and asked them look for alternate sites. They said, okay, we will. In the end, it still got built in Wheatfield Park because of the federal's requirement. We fought that. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. So we honor everyone speaking on this. Again, we're limited on what we can do on this. So we've gone down that route. I will make one comment. If it gets approved tonight, there is a condition to put the artificial ivy on the wall. After a year or two, that stuff looks like garbage. So I would propose one of the following things for the commission to consider. Have them put real ivy or some kind of landscaping in, and the concern was they didn't want to get their own water meter and the cost and all that. There's already landscaping around this thing. So the water source that is feeding that lawn and everything else around, it's going to feed any landscaping that's going to be in there. So it's not going to need additional water. That's one option. Now, the second option is to have them do and staff help come up with this idea, a split face and a nicer wall so it looks like something of a nicer product right in there. Now, most of this is going to be camouflaged anyway by the trees, but at least it'll look like a nicer finished product. So that's another option, is to do a split face with a nice cap, some colored, something that looks nice right there. So those are the options I would consider, but I really am not in favor of a fake ivy finish on there.
Let me ask a question. So when the conditions that were mentioned by Jeremy, what were they? Or do they have a bearing on anything we're doing here?
Yeah, the conditions that were modified, those were to remove some standard landscaping conditions that we typically have on most projects. In this particular case, since the project did not propose any landscaping, obviously those conditions were not applicable, right? So if the commission chooses to add conditions that would require some landscaping, or in this case, some Boston ivy or any type of vines or any type of landscaping, then some of those landscaping conditions would have to be reintroduced to comply and make sure that they're consistent with the project.
So would we approve it with the conditions that we state be added tonight?
So it depends on how the commission moves forward. If there's a consensus to amend the project and require different type of landscaping or real landscaping, then those conditions would probably be applicable, and I can go through them and direct the commission as to what conditions would be applicable to keep.
Okay, Thank you. Ivan?
Thank you. I actually would support the idea of some sort of shrub or vine that is actually real, not fake. And whether that's a vine that can grow on a split-face block or something along those lines, I think that would probably be a good compromise. So I certainly would be supportive of that. And I just wanted to ask one more question. In siting cell towers, Director Hernandez, this is probably for you. In siting cell towers, one of the things that are required in determining a location, and one of the things that you would look for would be the one slide that came up that probably most people are not familiar with, and that's that propagation study. And the propagation study shows gaps in coverage, and it's that study that the carriers use in determining where to best locate the tower. And that's something that you rely on as a part of your review and recommendation of a project. Is that correct?
That is correct. And once that area is defined, then we look for the best possible location where it's going to be less intrusive to the eye, right? In this particular case, there are mature trees that this would blend in and not be such an impact.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cammie, any questions?
Orlando, one further question. Fire Station 76, are they on Verizon? Or do you know?
I can answer that. I believe they're Sprint, and that site was looked at as far as their alternate site analysis.
Yeah, I'm
but-
aware of that. I just wanted to know what the guys and gals that work there, because this is increasing coverage indoors. I didn't know what their coverage was inside. If they were issued, you're saying Sprint phones, then we don't need to go any further.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
I just want to reiterate that different sites were considered, so that way the public knows that, yes, they did their due diligence. Yeah.
That is correct.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay.
So what is our consensus? Are we in consensus about no fake ivy and doing live vines, or a nicer block wall? What does everyone think?
I think the way that you had articulated it, and I concurred, which was instead of a precision CMU wall, split face wall with a vine or something that would grow on that and adhere to that.
Is everyone else in agreement?
I'm in agreement for that one.
I'm in agreement. I think live vines would be
I got plants in my backyard that I've never watered, and they're just full. So I know if given the opportunity, they can come up with something that won't even need to tap into the golf course's water. Just the annual amount of rain will take care of them throughout the year.
Does the owner want to?
Yeah, Jeremy, come on up.
So hi again, planning commissioners. Yeah, in regards to the landscaping, we are totally open to a different landscape plan. We do like the faux ivy because it provides a full coverage of the CMU, decorative CMU block wall, which blocks a lot of graffiti, maintenance type of issues. But we have also talked to the property owner about live landscaping as well, and they're more than willing to let us use their water supply and irrigation. We could use a landscape architect to come up with a plan that screens that block wall better with live plants and maintain it. And I think the original conditions address that as a possibility, and we are totally open to it. The only reason we had struck it previously because we had proposed the faux ivy instead. And there are benefits to the faux ivy as well.
So you'll work with planning for the appropriate
Absolutely.
plan. Okay, thank you, Jeremy. So are we voting on this with an amendment to the conditions?
If the consensus is to modify the fake ivy for what's being proposed, then the recommendation or the motion would be to reintroduce those landscaping conditions with an additional condition to change the fake ivy to what was proposed by the commission.
So I have a quick question. On this tower and any other towers where there's landscaping, does the tower owner bring in a contracted landscape maintenance to do those usually? Or is, in this case, would the property owner be doing it?
I think it depends on the agreement between the property owner and the cell tower. It could be either or.
The use permit, because it's use permit, could be used to regulate ongoing conditions like maintenance if need be.
Okay, if there are no further questions, there is one resolution for adoption. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolution as presented by staff?
With the,
With the additional condition.
With the additional changes to the landscape conditions. Okay. 5-0 passed. Thank you, Jeremy.
And just if I could, Mr. Chairman, Madam City Clerk, you're clear on the motion that would amend the condition for landscaping? Okay.
Correct, yes.
All right. Okay, this is item 9.2. Could the acting community development director please introduce this item?
thank you, Chair. Again, the following item, we have Associate Planner Brandon Cleary back again, and for another map. So he'll be doing the presentation.
Great.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The project before you is tentative track map number 38625 Salt Creek, PLN 22-0294. The project site is located at the southwest corner of Simpson Road and Briggs Road, and just north of the Salt Creek flood channel. The general plan designation is 5.1 to 8 dwelling units per acre residential, with low-medium density residential as the zoning designation. The project proposes 325 total units as a condo product, with 211 being traditional tract homes and 114 being motor court homes, and I'll get into the specifics on those in a little bit. There is also a 4.8 acre city park, a 1.4 acre HOA paseo, and a 0.37 acre HOA recreation center. Before getting into more specifics about the tract, I wanted to bring up Senate Bill 330. This project is using the provisions of the Housing Crisis Act of 2019 to address the shortage of housing in California by reducing barriers through expedited processing and freezing fees associated with development. The project proposes, by utilizing this bill, to freeze development impact fees and user fees, which are application fees for all departments, to the date of August 12th, 2022. So any fees charged for this project from now, if approved today, to 2.5 years from now, will be the ones in effect on August 12th, 2022. Back to the project. This is a tract map for condominium purposes. There will be one large lot with homeowners owning the footprint of the home with exclusive use over their rear and side yards, along with their front yard. The internal streets will be privately maintained by the homeowners association, which are consistent with the City of Menifee private street standards. In addition, the access points to the project will be one to the north along Simpson Road and two on the east side on Briggs Road. All will be full access, right in, right out. Here is the conceptual site plan. As mentioned earlier, there are 211 traditional tract units, which are generally located on the northern half of the project site. There will also be 114 motor court units, mostly on the southern half of the project site. A 1.4 acre HOA paseo will run down the center of the project site, connecting all streets and cul-de-sacs to the recreation center and the city park on the south end of the project. Here is a quick design of how the motor court units will look. They'll be designed in 4 or 6 packs. Each unit will have access from the central alley to their garage and pedestrian access to their front doors and side yards. There will also be landscaping and decorative paving along the entries to the driveways. For homeowner association amenities, there will be a shower and pool building equipment, shade structures, barbecue area, a pool, and 4 additional parking stalls for the residents. And on the right side of the site is a close-up view of one section of the HOA Paseo, which will include passive landscaping along with pedestrian walking paths. The city park located at the south end of the project site will include tennis and pickleball courts, a restroom, a barbecue station with overhead shade structure and picnic tables, play structure and associated equipment, open turf area, and paved walking trails. In addition, there is an existing trail to the west, just south of the Mahogany Creek Park. The project applicant has agreed to fully construct that trail from the west side of the project site all the way to the east side along the southern boundary of the project site. The project was originally scheduled for the September 11th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting and was continued to date uncertain to address fish and wildlife comments and conditions. The project was renoticed on March 30th for today's Planning Commission hearing. Notice was also published in the newspaper and to all property owners within a 300-foot radius of the project site. Back when the project was originally scheduled for Planning Commission, we received concerns from residents regarding traffic and more residential development concerns. In addition, we received a letter from Valleywide Maintenance District. Also included in your blue folders is a memo addressing modifications to finding number 4 and finding number 6 of the project resolution, providing further clarification on the finding of no impacts to environmental damage or fish or wildlife and their habitat. In addition, staff is proposing to amend condition number 2 to address the recently updated state high fire maps and associated requirements. And we are proposing to add a condition for the DG trail along the southern end of the city park to require construction or provide information in the event flood control is not able to allow construction of the trail. An initial study, mitigated negative declaration, was prepared for this project and determined that the project will have a less than significant effect on the environment with mitigation incorporated. The public comment period was August 4th to September 3rd of 2024. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving or adopting initial study and mitigated negative declaration based on the findings incorporated in the initial study, and direct staff to file a notice of determination, and adopt a resolution approving tentative tract map number 38625, PLN 22-0294, located at the southwest corner of Simpson Road and Briggs Road. This concludes staff's presentation. We have the applicant here with their own presentation, along with our CEQA consultant.
Thank you, Brandon. Planning commissioners, any questions for staff? Brandon? Ivan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I haven't looked at the LRA maps that CAL FIRE promulgated recently. Did the fire hazard severity designation in this area change?
Yes, it did change. It is not located in the very high fire one, which would be the most severe one. It is located in the moderate high one, which does potentially include additional building requirements to 7A construction and doing a fuel modification plan.
So because of the change in the LRA maps, that's why you're proposing this additional language?
That's correct.
Okay.
These changes will not result in a site plan effect.
Understood.
Thank you, Ivan. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one. The park, I noticed you mentioned Valleywide. This is a city park, not a Valleywide park, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Michael? You good? Tammy? Any questions? You good? Okay. So if there are no further questions, I'll open the public hearing at 6:35. Madam Clerk, can you confirm that the item was legally noticed and if any correspondence has been received?
Yes, it was legally noticed and we did not receive correspondence.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the applicant to the podium to speak. And does the applicant agree to the conditions of approval?
Yes, we do.
Do you agree to the DG Trail specifically?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, good evening, commissioners. We're really excited to be here. It's been a long road. My name is Louisa Folletto. I'm with Meritage Homes. Do you have our presentation?
IT, can you pull up the applicant presentation, please?
Well, while that's happening, just want to say thank you so much to staff. This project, they really worked with us to make it what it is today, to improve things that we'll kind of walk through some of the benefits, and they've been really responsive and efficient with our time. So we really, really appreciate that. I'm just here, I'm going to walk you through a little bit about who Meritage is and then some of the benefits we see about this project for both the project itself and to the city. Next slide, please. So about Meritage Homes, we are the 5th largest public home builder in the U.S. based on homes closing. We were founded in 1985. We've been in business for 39 years. We currently operate in 25 markets nationwide. Our Southern California division, we currently have 14 selling communities. We have 8 communities that are under construction, and then we have 19 communities that are either in active entitlement work or final engineering. Additionally, we've had a great time working with this city. We've had past projects that have been really successful, both our Sumac Ridge project that's off of Scott and Lindenberger, and then our Meadow Run project off of Bradley and Holland. We really enjoy working in this city, so we're happy to be back here. And Meritage Homes, we focus on a first-time home buyer or a first-time move-up home buyer. That's really the sweet spot we see that needs homes coming online so that anyone can achieve the goal of home ownership. Next slide, please. So Meritage, we pride ourselves on some of our construction features, and we're known in the industry as a leader in energy efficiency. We were the first 100% Energy Star national builder. All of our homes are triple certified by the EPA. This slide just kind of showcases some of our other green features that are standard in all of our homes. And one of the ones I want to highlight is the fact that we spray foam insulate our attics. This additional insulation allows us to exceed the state's minimum energy efficiency requirements. It saves our homeowners money. It improves indoor air quality and makes our homes quieter inside. Additionally, spray foam insulation, because we do that in our attics, it actually means that we don't have any venting in our attics. So in an area that has fire risk, right, we don't have open vents that embers could potentially get into, and the spray foam actually acts as a fire retardant as well. Next slide, please. Just a little bit more about Meritage. So we are an award-winning company, 11-time recipient of the EPA's Energy Star Partner of the Year Award. We're included in Fortune's Best Workplace for Parents list, Most Trusted Companies in America list, and then most importantly is our Avid Award ranking. So this is a home builder competition where a third-party service is actually surveying new residents, new home buyers. They do it as a 1-month survey and then a year-end survey. And our SoCal division has actually taken the top award nationally 3 years in a row, which we're really, really proud of. And additionally, we do a lot of different philanthropic work, partnering with donating homes for veterans, or we do meal packing in our division, and we do also Joy Jars. So a lot of giving back, which we enjoy. Next slide, please. So a bit about the project, and I'll keep it high level since staff has done a great job. It's located on the eastern edge of the city. We're north of Salt Creek Channel. It really does fill in kind of this remainder parcel adjacent to the Heritage Lakes community. Simpson Road is classified as a secondary road in the county circulation element. Briggs is classified as a major. So this project helps build out those street sections to the end goal. Additionally, Briggs is identified both in the county and the city as kind of a gateway street. So we're happy to kind of provide that enhanced landscaping there along that edge. There's also the potential for a future bridge crossing at Briggs over Salt Creek Channel. That's identified in the county's circulation element. So in this project, through the process, we made sure to work with staff in the engineering department that any future connection could occur, that the alignment was such that would make that feasible. Additionally, since the project is abutting an adjacent existing community, we made it sure that for that western edge that abuts the Mahogany Creek development, that those lots were extra deep to provide a little additional setback. There's also a grade change that occurs there, so we're respecting the existing slope. Our site is actually situated below, so those homeowners have the additional privacy maintained, I'll say. Next slide, please. So as staff mentioned, the site is consistent with the existing zoning and general plan designations. We're a total of 325 homes across 3 different product types. There's a central paseo that anchors the site and connects residents from the northern edge all the way down to the park at the southern boundary. There's a small private recreation area with a pool, restroom buildings, and provides additional gathering spaces for residents. And we do have the 2 water quality basins that collect and treat water before it's released into Salt Creek Channel. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the product type. So the northern half of the site is comprised of more of the traditional lots. The blue shading represents 50 by 100 foot lots, and the pink shading represents 45 by 100 foot lots. There were a lot of conversations when we were starting this project with staff around making sure that the community felt cohesive and inclusive, and it wasn't very segmented in a we live here, you live there kind of way, which is why we ended up flipping the product type in the middle of the site. We think that this really does provide a bit more diversity in streetscape, but it also helps it remain builder-friendly in terms of construction phasing and modeling and different things like that. The 50 by 100s, those are going to be a 40-foot wide home. So you're looking at 4 to 5 bedroom homes, somewhere in the 2,300 to 3,000 square foot range. The 45 by 100 lots, those are going to be a 35 wide home, and that's going to be 3, 4, and 5 bedrooms, somewhere in the ballpark of 1,600 to 2,200 square feet. Next slide, please. No, these are all, so even though it is a condo map, these are all single-family homes that have 5-foot side yards and rear yards that range on the motor courts at a minimum of about 10 feet, and then the traditional lots are 100-foot depth, so those have larger 30, 40-foot yards. So on the motor court homes, the blue shading is showing that it's about 38 lots, and those are actually plotted traditionally. So those will have a full driveway, and most of those have a larger yard, whether it's 15 or 20 feet. The remainder that are in kind of that yellowy orange color are the cluster configuration that are going to be off of the shared drive, whether it's in a 4-pack or 6-pack configuration. And part of the reason we liked incorporating the traditionally plotted motor court homes was to provide a transition both from the homes to the north, but also create a consistent edge along Briggs as the street comes down. And we think that it helps provide that diversity in street scene as well on the southern half of the site. For these homes, you're looking at 3 and 4 bedroom homes ranging in like 1,450 square feet to about 1,950 square feet. And these, the last 2 slides were just showing some of the conceptual architecture that was included in our SB 330 application. So we fully intend to work with staff after approvals and finalizing the architecture package. Next slide, please. So the amenities, staff touched on it. We have a private recreation area that has a pool, a restroom building, seating, and barbecue area. The small parking lot is supplemented by on-street parking. As staff mentioned, it is full private streets, so there's parking allowed on both sides. The recreation area is centrally located on the site, so it allows residents from either end to kind of easily get to it, and then it does provide that opportunity for additional gathering spaces if people are having birthday parties or gatherings with friends and families. The Paseo provides a continuous connection from Simpson to the public park. There's walkways, passive turf and planting areas, and dog bag stations throughout. And then at all of our entry points, we did have an emphasis on coming in on green. So on Simpson, you're coming in and you're seeing that Paseo, and then off of Briggs, which are the 2 photos on the, or 2 images on the right, you're coming in either at the public park at the south end or kind of a small green space end capping some of the lots on the traditional area. Next slide, please. And then, so just kind of last slide, we really feel that this project implements the vision of the approved general plan for this area. We think that it helps provide needed workforce housing. It provides a new city park in this area, and then does provide financial contributions for future roadway improvements. With that, my team is here and I'm here if you guys have any questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does planning commissioners have any questions from the applicant? Tammy?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. So this development is a fully electric development, and you're going to add solar panels to each unit?
Correct. So it'll be solar all electric. So we will be meeting the requirements of the building code, which does require solar to be installed on each home.
Now, will the solars fully offset the electric bill or just have an impact on their electric bill?
I think it depends on the size of the home. So some may be an offset, but some it may be enough to cover. I don't know if we offered the opportunity for a home buyer to expand their array during construction or not. I think that we set a certain amount, but they could obviously, a home buyer could go in after the fact to expand their array if they needed to offset more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Michael?
To piggyback on that, because of all the things you want, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the words, but those awards.
Yeah.
Is that why you're not installing gas appliances?
It's actually more of a code requirement. So with the updated building code, there's the certain checklist you have to meet for Title 24. So a lot of builders have actually gone away from gas just because it negatively impacts your score that you have to meet with Title 24 requirements. We find that the solar all electric though is appealing to buyers, and we haven't really had too much pushback since we've made that transition.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas? Ivan?
So thanks for your presentation. Could you go back to the site plan? Slide that shows the site plan. I did hit that. That's fine. So I was just curious. I mean, I think I know what your answer will be, but why you chose to cul-de-sac the 2 streets, the internal streets in the northerly half of the project?
Sure. So in our initial site planning efforts and discussions with staff, there was the comment about not wanting it to feel too racetracky, wanting it to feel like a nice residential community that didn't just encourage people to speed down, which is why we ended up creating the knuckles and creating kind of a northern and southern half. And then coming into the middle, rather than having those connect through, we thought that the opportunity to create somewhat like neighborhoods within the neighborhoods with these cul-de-sacs that feed the community to the central spine, it was going to be a great way to promote walkability in the neighborhood, meeting your neighbors, and really that kind of inclusive community.
The reason, I appreciate that. The reason that I ask is, of course, that's a trade-off of connectivity inside, and also it's a little bit more of a challenge in CAD. So if you get emergency responder that comes to one side, they may have to, depending upon the address range, go all the way around to the other side. So I'm just speaking for me now, not for the commission. I generally like to see the connectivity, but I do understand your rationale.
Sure, and I will just say, I do believe we're intending that the streets on opposite ends will be individually named, that it won't be a continuation, so hopefully that would cut down on
That would help.
Yeah, any confusion.
Very good. Commissioner Thomas.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Quick question. On the streets where they go through, like when you first come in from the north in there, is that a roundabout? Is that what that is, a planter roundabout?
Yeah, so at the two entries, and I think we have one at the southern end, we just wanted to provide opportunities that kind of slow things down and create a little bit more of a focal point at the entries.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a small enough planter, so trucks are still able to navigate around it. The cul-de-sac side, the outer curb radius is still large enough for people to safely maneuver, trucks, fire, trash, all of that. It's just more of a focal statement and traffic calming.
Second question, it might be for staff. Since these are private streets, are they not as wide as a public street would be? Or are they the same width?
They're the same width.
Same width?
Yeah, so it's a full 60-foot right-of-way, and it's a 40-foot curb-to-curb.
Okay.
Same standard plan.
And the last item would be, I wanted to thank you for improving the trail, DG Trail behind it.
Yeah.
Because we saw when we was having our staff meetings that it's not done, and that really, I think, will bring value to the development, because there's a lot of walking that goes along Salt Creek, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and when we were in discussion with staff about features of the park, that was something that was brought up, which is why we do have this small parking lot adjacent to Briggs, since this would be the easternmost point of the Olive Avenue trails. At this time, we wanted to make sure that there was that opportunity for people who wanted to come and bike or walk the trail, that they had that.
Wonderful. That's it.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. I love the fact that you brought architectural drawings. We're not making a decision on that, but I'm glad to be able to see that.
Absolutely.
On the top half of the project, I couldn't tell from the pictures you supplied. Are those full driveways?
Yeah, so all the homes on the northern half as well as the 38 on the southern half will have a minimum 18-foot, I want to say that typically we're a 20-foot full drive.
Okay. Next question. Our original start date was January 2025. You were delayed 7 months, 8 months, something like that. Is the time frame still 4.5 years? Or are you going to escalate that? For construction?
For construction, so obviously a lot of the things in this area, one of our big things is that we do need to bring in some dirt. So we're working with staff to kind of get our drawings going as fast as possible. I want to say that I did not actually look at the most recent schedule update, but we're probably about, I wouldn't say 2 years out probably from models, just with the earthwork import we need to do and construction.
Okay, everything else, I'm going to go back in time here to 2023 when you guys went to the PRTC. The Paseos.
Yeah.
Are you going to decide on, or have you decided on if they're going to be multi-use trails or walkways or whatever you want to call them?
So we're still have them proposed just as the 5 or 6 foot sidewalk. There's nothing to prevent people from biking down them.
Okay.
But they're not going to be intended as a multi-use trail since we are improving our half of Briggs, which would allow people to get down to the park and access.
And at that same meeting, there was a discussion about lighting at the pickleball courts. What came about of that?
Yeah, so we will be providing lighting in the park. We will be ensuring that it is down-facing so it doesn't impact both the wildlife and natural area in Salt Creek as well as the adjacent residents. Similar to Mahogany Creek Park, there's solar lighting in there. So in terms of actual light fixture, we have not determined the exact model, if it's going to be solar lighting or if it's just going to be, LED lighting that's downlit to prevent light spillover.
I know there was concern about whether or not they were going to be just pathway lights or actually where you could play pickleball at 8 o'clock at night.
Right, and I think that those will still be conversations with staff, given this will end up being a public park that the city maintains. So as we work through final designs on that, we'll definitely be in conversations with Parks Department, since they'll be the ones who have to hear any concerns of neighbors if those come up.
And I could do it with the picture that I got right here. The right-hand side of the parking inside the park.
Yes.
I believe it was mentioned it was water, something, what did you?
So at the
Nothing can be done with that area?
So the southern portion below the small parking lot area, it is a water quality, it's a small basin that's for some of the hardscape surfaces in the park. So that will be contained. We're hoping that as we work through engineering, we can have it at a shallow enough slope that it may not need to be fenced off and, fully inaccessible, but we're still working through that.
Okay, and my final question. You said you cater to first-time homebuyers. With all these small cluster lots, well, I'll tell you, the first thing I did when I bought my home, the first thing I wanted to get was a dog.
Yep.
So a lot of these cluster homes, they're not going to have really big yards. Sure, the dogs will be walked on the paseos. You said you're going to have dog stations there. The dogs can get their walks. But I don't know about everyone else's dog, but my dogs need a run. Would you consider trying to fit in a very small dog park?
In terms of if it was to go in the public park or
Or just somewhere where dogs can run off leash.
Right, and I think we're open to working with the city to refine the amenities within the public park if that's something what they want to see incorporated.
Either that or let me
I know that there's the I want to say it's the Aldergate Dog Park is the next closest in this area, and that's about a mile, about a half mile maybe. No,
how
a
wide,
mile out.
How wide are the paseos?
Yeah,
between the walkways?
Yeah, the paseo is, I want to say about 50 feet wide. So
Maybe a long ways dog park, just put up some fencing and, let the dogs run. I don't know. If you can make it fit, that'd be great.
yeah, I think the concern in the paseo would be the rear or the side yards kind of abutting it of those single family homes, but there is some passive turf lawn area in the public park that we could look to potentially reprogram as with fencing for a dog park if staff, if public work, if the Parks and Rec
So
wanted
that's something you'll be open to?
Yeah, we're open to
Okay.
working with
Right.
staff on that as we refine the park plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I actually have a comment or a question. Have you ever built something like this before?
The cluster or the single
No,
family?
the whole configuration. You guys thought of everything in this, every thing you could want in a community is in this.
Yeah, this is definitely one of our bigger single-family home communities that we've done recently. But in terms of multiple products or things like that within one community, we've done that
Right.
before. We've had projects in Redlands and Beaumont. I think our project in Redlands is probably the most similar, that has the cluster as well as traditional single-family and some public park elements. And that's our Live Oak project, and that's really successful.
Yeah, kudos to you and staff.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Okay, if there's no further questions for Louisa, are there? No one? Okay. Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or would anyone in the audience like to make a public comment?
Chair, could you close the public hearing?
Oh, excuse me, darn it, I missed that. I will close the public hearing at 6:59, sorry.
And I have no request to speak.
Okay. So does the planning commission have any other comments or discussion? We got it covered, huh? Okay. So then we'll move on. There are two resolutions for adoption. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolutions as presented by staff?
Just to be clear, that's a motion to approve with the conditions listed in the April 9th memo. Okay.
So excuse me. Would we have to make a modification to look into the dog park as a condition? Or is staff just going to handle that on their own?
I mean, obviously, that's something we'd have to discuss with community service. So we've heard the direction. We'll have those conversations with the community service, and if there's an opportunity to introduce that, then we hear that the applicant is willing to work with us.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, one more vote. And your project passes 5-0. Congratulations. Good job. Okay, so there are no discussion items. Acting Community Development Director, do you have any great updates for us?
No updates for today.
All right. Okay, does Planning Commission have anything to report on committee activities that they went to? Oh, Tammy.
I went to the tourism visionary meeting that took place last Friday, Thursday? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. But it was really interesting. It was everyone was very engaged in terms of providing input on what they would like to see in terms of bringing people into Menifee. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
The innovative?
No, this was tourism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for representing us.
You're welcome.
Any others, commissioners?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
On the 20th of March, I attended the Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home Ceremony. That was just amazing. I think this is the 4th year they've been doing it. I'm exceptionally proud because my son got to hold the flag for the state of Arizona, which he kind of loves. But he made the triangle for all the Vietnam vets to walk down the aisle. That evening, I attended the Arts Council Menifee at the Center of Spiritual Living, a blues band called Looking for Trouble. People always say there's nothing to do in Menifee. I was probably the youngest one there, but it was still a great time. Nina's Barbecue catered it, or not catered, you had to pay a small fee for dinner, but it was a really nice event, and Mary, I look forward to more of those. Yesterday, I attended the community partners meeting over at the library, and once again, there's all kinds of events happening spring and summer of this year, and get on the Community Services Department website and check things out. There's plenty of things to do. And yesterday afternoon, I attended the Southwest Riverside County Higher Education Coalition meeting. And I would just like to see that move forward. Personally, I don't have any financial gain in it or anything like that, but I really believe that it'll help bring the educated workforce down to that Southern Gateway Innovation District that we need. We're losing about, I think it's around 40% of graduates who start college and don't finish college. So if we can get people to go to Temecula rather than San Marcos or Riverside and commute all that extra time, it would be, we'd get a lot more smarter kids in our neighborhood. And that's all I got.
Thanks for covering us, Michael. Okay. So would Planning Commission like to request any future agenda items?
No, I just have a wonder if, well, if there's nothing else, I guess the Community Development Director is next. So just wondering on the, I don't know, the community center next to the library across from Wheatfield, is there any movement on design and selection and things like that?
That is correct. There's been multiple internal meetings to, do a site layout and design and different options. So community service is taking the lead on it.
So they're still in the design phase
That's
then?
correct.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear there were any future agenda items. So at that, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:05 PM. Thank you, Commissioners. Good job.